So Lauren, I'm going to hand over to you.
Okay, thanks, Jenny. So hi, everyone. My name is Lauren. So I've been leading the AFT task force with the FSI this year as we've been redeveloping the programs and ready to launch for next year. And it's really great to have you here as a group and to hear your questions, because that's certainly going to be great feedback for us and really important information in the next steps as well. As we start to communicate this and really relaunch the programs. So what I'm going to do is I'll go through each of the 3 programs and I will share a screen. You may or may not have seen this document. This is the most recent version. So I'll just pull up. So you should be able to see on your screen the Advanced Certificate in Couple and Family Systems Therapy document. So this is the new 2-year program that has been accredited with the Australian Association for Family Therapy. And what I'll do is I won't read all the details, but these will be available on the website. And so you can go through these more thoroughly yourselves later. But I just want to bring out some of the features, talk about some of those, and also what the program involves. So it's now a 2-year program. And it's a 2-year core program with what we're calling extra professional development, compulsory professional development separate to that, which are things like supervision groups, family of origin, research groups, and seminars, which can be taken either within the 2 years of the core program or up to 8 years beforehand. So in that way, you can stagger how much you do before enrolling in the core program, and it gives a lot of flexibility in terms of engaging with the theory, working through material, and making it really doable, I think, alongside working or clinical practice. So this is really our clinical program, and you'll see here that really it's broken down into 3 main components. The first one, of course, is the theory. It's a family therapy training, but the core theory that we're drawing on in the program is Bowen theory. And that really provides a foundation for grappling with understanding relationships, particularly the multi-generational relationship patterns, and then thinking about self and presentations and case presentations in those contexts. So you've got the theory component. The clinical application component, really that's drawn out through very applicable seminars. So we're calling them the special topic workshops, which will cover topics and things like working specifically with couples or tracking emotional process, thinking about trauma, things like that, as well as the clinical supervision groups. Now, the clinical supervision groups are one of the features that separates this program from the usual certificate program. So it's an AFT requirement and it's an important part of this clinical program. And there's also collaborative learning intensives, and these are terrific opportunities twice a year for 2 days where participants get together face to face, and every year, every participant does a presentation on their own thinking about the theory and an application to a case or their family of origin, or some other component of applying Bowen theory in application to their lives or to their thinking. And they're a really wonderful part of the program and collaborative learning together. So that's the second, the clinical application. And the third bit there, the self as therapist. So the family of origin research groups are a really important part of understanding yourself in your own web of relationships, we might say, and then thinking about how that relates really to yourself as in personal and professional contexts. And so that's there through the family of origin research groups. So just a quick overview. So it's a 2-year program. There'll be twice annual intake into the program, February and July. And that's because as we'll look at the modules a little bit further down here, you can join at different times of the year because the modules will be, 2 modules will be running each half year, and you can pick up at any point. It is flexible. It's affordable because you can stretch out the costs over a number of years, separate if you're doing the seminars and supervision groups and family of origin groups separate to the core program. And importantly too, we include in this the free registration to the pre-conference event and the FSI's end of year symposium. And these are really nice opportunities to get together face to face. So while a lot of the program is online and in interactive forums and that sort of thing, we do really value the face to face opportunities that we get and are created as well. So I'll leave you to read that. What I'll do is I'll skip down to the actual course structure. So you can see here in the first year, there's the initial orientation and as well as an end of year review, and there's an annual review as well in the second year. And then these are the learning modules. So 6 of the modules really are Bowen theory focused and draw on Bowen theory and include, all the modules include guided reading and very clear reading structure.
Excuse me, Lauren, sorry
Yep.
to interrupt, but
Yep.
I'm not seeing the screen move at all. I don't know if others can.
Okay.
It's just stayed on
Okay.
the
top.
initial, yeah.
Okay, that's all right. I'll just jump out of that and I'll share it again. Sorry about that. Okay, can you see that now with the course structure? Is
Yes.
that available now?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for
Great.
calling me up on that. Yep. So what I'm talking about there is the learning modules. So 6 of them are very are really about Bowen theory, and there's the module 4 and module 8 are the broader family therapy context. So again, these are just one of the differences between this program and the certificate program, which doesn't have a clinical focus. This is a requirement of AFT, and it's really helpful, I think, for us to be thinking about Bowen theory in the context of the broader family therapy field and theory and application. And so that's module 4 and module 8. I will be thinking about those in particular. The collaborative learning intensives, as I mentioned before, they're face-to-face in Sydney, 2 days. So that's the core program. And then the additional program requirements, you can see down the bottom there. So there's the supervision groups. They're 5 groups of 2 hours each, plus guided reading for each of those. And in the second year, there's the clinical tape review, which means that if you're participating in the clinical supervision groups, you bring recordings of your family therapy work or couple work, and you bring a recording of those to those supervision groups, and that counts as a live supervision requirement. So they're the supervision groups. Family of origin groups, they run for 2 years. And then the application workshops, which you can pick and choose what you go to, again, during the core program years or prior to that. And there'll be different topics, but a lot of them focus on the clinical application of theory to practice. So that's the advanced certificate. That's the AFT program that we have. I'm just going to very briefly now share the other 2 programs, and then we'll open up for questions. So let me just find that's the same one. Hang on a second. It's not letting me find that one. Okay, I'll just see if I can do this. Otherwise, I'll just speak to it and it'll be available on the website. Okay, yeah. So this is the what we're calling the Certificate in Family Systems Theory and Application. So this is a 2-year program that's suitable more broadly for people. So you don't need to be in clinical practice to be doing this one. It doesn't work towards the same family therapy certification, although the core program is essentially the same. The core differences with this one is that it doesn't include the broader family therapy modules. It doesn't include the clinical supervision groups. So they're the main differences with this program. So it's an excellent program for those who might be in different fields. They might be people who are working in human resources. They might be people who are working in schools, all sorts of things, business contexts, education, health. And it provides a really excellent foundation of Bowen theory. And if you're not sure, it's a great place to start. And then you could always add the AF requirements later on as well. So that's the 2-year certificate program. And then finally, I will just share the third strand of programs we have is this one. It's doing the same thing. So I will just pull up the Systems in Ministry program. Okay, last one to share. Okay, so this is what we're calling the Certificate in Systems in Ministry. This is because over the years, really, my understanding is since the 80s, is that there's been initially a lot of Jewish writers and thinkers applying Bowen theory to thinking about the relationships in their communities. And that's been kind of delved into and adapted, and there's been a lot of work done in kind of Christian ministry circles, really thinking about the application of this theory to those communities. So it's not just Christian ministry, it's open to other faiths, but a lot of the writings have come from the Jewish and Christian traditions. And this program is also 2 years. It has a theory component, a ministry application component, and a personal application component as well, with the family of origin research groups. So I will stop that now, and I think I'm going to hand over to Emma, who's going to tell us a little bit about her experience, and then we'll open to questions.
Before Emma starts, so just a couple of things that was really clear, Lauren. But as I was listening, I thought it might be helpful to say 2 things. Mm-hmm. One is for the certificate non-clinical program. Yes, the difference is as Lauren had outlined, but the other you will notice is it's only half the required special application workshops. So the reduced hours are in the workshops as well. And the other thing some of you will be considering are the year 1 and 2 sequence. It doesn't matter with the discussion group modules whether you start at year 2 or year 1, and we anticipate that people will be starting at different points along the way. Some of you have done modules 1, 2, and 3, signed up for it this year. And because of that, next year's program will start with module 4. As opposed to the year 1. So I just thought I'd quickly drop that one in for people's awareness. Over to you, Emma.
Thanks, Jenny. I'm just going to speak a little bit about my experience of the certificate program, which when I went through, obviously was not the modified version, which you see now, which I think is going to be a really good adjustment to the program that I did, which I think I did in about 2012 to 2015. And it kind of coincided with me leaving full-time work in an anxiety clinic kind of setting, and quite a long background working in very structured CBT type environments, research environments, looking at I guess, best practice from, guidelines and how you come up with those. But the reason I got interested in doing the certificate program really was personal roadblocks, probably professionally and personally, where, even working with young people and finding I didn't really have much extra to offer when it came to complex cases. So moving into private practice as I went to doing a bit less work with having babies, coming across cases that didn't really lend themselves to my traditional background, and really being a bit undercooked when it came to thinking broadly and systemically around the family dynamics that I was coming up against. So it was that limitation that probably led me to having some personal supervision, which then got me interested in the program, which, when I think about the main benefit, has really been personal for me. And that aspect of the program around developing self as a therapist, I think it's been invaluable in terms of being able to reflect on just things in my own background that needed to probably be addressed if I was going to be able to have longevity in a field where you're working with other people. So my training had been very good. I did a doctorate in clinical psychology, but I think as much as we talked about through that training, you need to be aware of your own issues or reflecting on transference and things like that. I don't think I'd really done that in an actual way. I'd done it theoretically, but I hadn't actually done it personally or genuinely, or really attempted to go back into my family of origin and have a sense of what was going on, or even just notice what was going on. So I think the benefit really is being in a structured format where you've got some guidelines around what you're doing to support you through the process of looking at your own stuff in your family. So it's very useful. I think other people may say that when they went through the program, it was more useful for them at work. I think for me, really, I spent most of the time thinking about myself personally, my own limitations, and that has helped me at work. But it was probably that aspect of it which was what got me interested and what kind of kept me there. For that reason, it's also not the easiest process. It's not a matter of kind of doing some readings and writing an essay that you're quite detached from. At times, I think it can be challenging. And there's certainly moments where you feel like, oh, I don't really want to look at myself again and turn that rock over. But also, I think if you're working in a helping profession, at some point, you do come up against things which make it hard to help others if you're not spending that time on yourself. So I guess that's my initial thoughts about it. But I'm happy to answer questions as well when we get to questions, Lauren, if there's anything more that people want to pick up on from any of those things.